This is the very fashionable neighborhood of Belvedere. This area, up until the 1880s, was primarily rolling farmland and orchards. And the families that owned the farmland here date from the colonial period. So this was, again, for a long time, farmland. But there was something that occurred after the Civil War, not just in Lowell, but in other cities, in terms of transportation technology. And the owners of this transportation technology transformed many cities, including Lowell. And this technology was the streetcar. The streetcars were developed primarily after the Civil War, originally pulled by horses, and they were known as horse railroads. And so a number of streetcars, there were separate companies, but in the end they all merged into a couple of large ones. Often the investors in these streetcar companies were also real estate speculators and developers. And indeed that was the case here in Belvedere, where a number of investors purchased property from a few of the old families here and developed the neighborhood called Belvedere into a very exclusive residential area for the city's elite. This area grew quite extensively after the 1890s. The house behind me, this grand kind of neoclassical white house, a wood frame, was built in 1904 by not a textile owner or magnate, but a man who made his fortune in the lumber business. A lot of people don't realize that, in fact, Lowell had a lot of lumbering business brought down from the Merrimack River onto Newburyport. So anyway, Henry L. Tibbetts made a fortune in the lumber business, and he and his 2 sons and 2 stepdaughters and wife and 2 servants moved into this house in 1904. Tibbetts did not live very long to enjoy this house. He died in 1908, but his wife and sons became very prominent members of Lowell society. Very typical with the Tibbetts house and other houses in Belvedere were sizable carriage houses. So if you compare, for example, the Tibbetts carriage house with the tenements that we just saw on Cork Street, the carriage house is as large, if not larger, than these tenements that housed 8 to 10 families. This area was very much dominated by Protestant families who were among the wealthy elite, but there were others who were wealthy in Lowell who were not Protestants, I should point out. There were also Irish who actually did quite well.
Sure, there were Irish who did quite well. Many of them did well in the trades area. They weren't the mill owners, they were the mill workers, but also the tradesmen who owned small businesses, like Patrick Keys. Patrick comes over, makes his money being a grocer and selling alcohol. A lot of Irish make their money by selling alcohol. My favorite one, though, is Humphrey O'Sullivan. Humphrey is born in Ireland, comes to the States, and Humphrey is working in the newspaper business. His feet are killing him. So to make a long story short, he and his brother invent the rubber heel. Humphrey O'Sullivan becomes the rubber heel king of America, and he makes a fortune. And when he dies, he gives away a lot of his fortune to the church. But Humphrey doesn't move up to Belvedere. Humphrey stays in the acre. His house is still there. Humphrey doesn't have a carriage house like that. Humphrey has a small stall where he keeps his horses in the back.
I would be remiss if in our short stop in Belvedere, I didn't take you to the Alexander Comnock house, which is behind me, this magnificent brick mansion. What is really, I think, remarkable in thinking about the growing difference between the wealthy and the working people is that Alexander Comnock was the agent of the Boot Mills. But here, Alexander Comnock and his family moved in the early 1900s into this house that he had designed and lived here for many years. And I think it really, again, demonstrates this, first of all, the exclusiveness of this neighborhood and the fact that those of certain social status separated themselves from the working people. And I think this is something that we see today, the socioeconomic differences of where people live in the wealthy districts like Belvedere and the working class districts in Lowell and other cities.